Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gary Summers, and welcome to Mind, Body, Soul.
And before we start, I'd recommend that you go back and listen to Michelle's first interview. This is part two of two, but last week she spoke about her anxiety and how she was able to overcome that and be able to live the life and start the business that she's actually blossoming in today.
We have a very interesting guest with us today who's going to talk about a topic that seems to be exploding over the last number of years. Many of us have seen yoga, maybe taken a few classes, and maybe have some idea what the concept is truly about. Yoga is a group of physical, mental, and spiritual practices or disciplines which originated in ancient China. Our next guest is an enthusiastic practitioner of yoga. Welcome, Michelle Lee.
Oh, hi, Gary.
Michelle, you're the first of a number of yoga instructors we plan to have on the show, and I guess one of the reasons why I wanted you on first is because of your enthusiasm with wanting to come on the show, and so I knew I wanted to get you on first. So we'll get to know Bodhi Hot Yoga throughout the show, but could you first tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you grew up?
Well, I am the oldest of three, so I have two younger brothers, Michael and Mark, which I believe is divine in its own way. It showed me responsibility, it showed me how to delegate, it showed me how to share and communicate, which are all skills that I use every day. And my parents, who are still together, and which I learned a lot watching, they team up. They're together, right? They showed us how to stay together, stick together, family comes first. I watched my mom go to work for every day for 35 years. Whether the house burnt down, mom went to work. Whether she was sick or tired, mom went to work. And dad, he started a bunch of businesses that I watched him build and grow since I'm a young child. So since 17, I started to work with him. I started to teach hockey. And up until that point, I was a figure skating coach. So I've always been coaching. I love children. I've been working in that area for a long time, which was divine in its own way.
Sure.
And so about 18, he had purchased a sports tech, and then I started to work there where I started to purchase all the inventory and take in all of the supplies and make sure it was all accounted for. I did all the sales. I greeted the customers. So then, again, divine. And so that's kind of where I was before I found yoga. I was in sales.
So, Michelle, that's where you were. When did you move into yoga?
December 2015. My friend who was asking me to do yoga for about a year, she was begging me to do hot yoga. And I gave her every excuse in the book. I was a gym fanatic. So I went to the gym every single day for about 15 years. And finally, about Christmas time, she said to me, it's only $40. Like, okay, and I'll pay for it myself and I'll come with you, It was those moments. So I went and I laid on the mat and I was doing yin yoga. It was just a deep stretching. So we spent an hour laying down on the floor and relaxing the muscles and really just going into the gap. And it was candlelight and it was gentle music. And I just remember lying there and my eyes were half open and it was so relaxing and calming. And I said, well, that was the best thing I ever did, and I'm going to do yoga for the rest of my life. And that was pretty much it.
Did you thank your friend for that?
Yeah, people ask me that. She's the reason why it all started. She got me in through the door, which inspired me instantly. I just knew then what I was going to do. And my spiritual journey had met the yoga that is asana, the yoga poses. And those two combined was something that shifted me. And I found the purpose of why I chose to come here. Because you choose it. I believe that
Absolutely.
We have reincarnated many times. And we chose this path. We chose the hurt and the pain and all of that comes along to get you to your dharma, to find your passion so you can give it away. And I knew that when I was on the floor in that moment, I said, oh, I found out why I'm here. I know what I'm going to do.
It would be nice if everybody found that moment, wouldn't it, to find their passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people miss is they get up and they kind of waltz through life and do the same things over and over again instead of rediscovering yourself and finding your passion and having a really good reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, well, you're conditioned.
Yeah.
You're conditioned into thinking you're limited.
So just go through from the time you had that moment on the mat to how you actually taught your first class. Talk to us about that journey.
Okay.
You had a lot of obstacles, right? You had a lot of people
Ooh.
tell you no. You had...
Yeah. Well, yes, in many directions. But first we'll start at the beginning where I got up in December of 2015. And in January I had memorized many yoga sequences and was just teaching to my family and my friends before breakfast, and I'd cook them toutons. It was you couldn't get them in there unless you cooked them toutons and bacon. That was how you got them in. So serving breakfast, doing yoga. Then I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I found training in Tampa. That was Bikram sequence, and I left in June of 2016. And just 6 months later, I went to Tampa, Florida, and did a 500-hour training for 3 months. I did a hot yoga, a flow yoga, a yin yoga training, and I came back. The last thing my trainer said to me was, "You guys are ready, and go and teach your heart out." And I'll never forget that. I was like, he's like, "You're ready." And no matter...
Did you believe you were ready?
Yes. I didn't want to come back. I was ready to build a hut and live on the beach and never come home. I love my family. I had a boyfriend. He was like, "So when are you coming home?" I was like, "Next week or the week after." He's like, "No, now. Like tomorrow or tonight." I was like, "No, don't take me away." Because I found my people. I was so into my comfort. I realized that it is all very simple, and we complicate a lot.
Totally. People always say to me, life is complicated. I say, no, life is really simple. We complicate life by the decisions that we make and the beliefs that we chose to have in ourselves. Because beliefs are really choices, right?
Your choices, I always say, because source and ego cannot be one of the other. So if you choose the source, the ego has no
Absolutely.
room, and therefore you're always vibrating at a higher vibration. If you continue to diligently choose the higher vibration, it becomes such an easy thing that it will eliminate the ego and bring you to your enlightened self.
Because what you focus on increases, right?
Yes,
And what you don't
manifest.
focus on just goes away.
Law of attraction.
Absolutely.
Law of attraction.
Absolutely.
Your thought will multiply, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't know the difference.
Right.
It just knows that you're focused on it so extremely. That's why anxiety and negative emotion will manifest so high and heighten so fast, because you are focused so intensely.
And the beauty about all of that is your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So when you're focusing on the negative, then it's impossible for you to focus on the positive, right?
You're bringing me to the next question.
Okay. I guess for me, and our listeners would probably love to know, how has yoga benefited you personally? How has it changed your life? How have you become a better, more focused person because of this?
You were saying how if you're thinking a lot of thoughts, it manifests quickly, right? But yoga teaches you to slow it all down. Because really, in yoga, when you're doing the asana, you cannot focus on anything else because you're trying to breathe, you're trying to endure the heat, you're trying to listen to what I say.
How hot?
105 Fahrenheit.
What is the asana?
Asana, good question. Asana is poses, the poses that we do. So the higher self. That's why I open those doors.
That's why it's exploding, I think, because people are beginning to understand that it is more about the poses. It's more about finding yourself and your higher self and reaching that level that a lot of people don't reach.
Finding the gap. That's why you're there.
Buddhists call it monkey brain,
Yeah.
which is where your thoughts are just going crazy. And yoga, I guess, and you know more about this than I do, teaches you how to control those thoughts.
Yes, because you're focused. You will learn with practice, and in time, you learn to focus on the breath and how it feels, and not be attached to the end. There's a great quote Wayne Dyer always said, when you dance, the goal is not to get to a particular place on the dance floor. It's to enjoy the steps along the way.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey. So you learn to slow it down and focus on how it feels. And you're not in a mad rush to get from here to there, because there is no goal. There's no destination of the pose. The challenge is, and the hardest pose is, for most, just to stand there, like you were saying, to slow the busy mind. My mother, prime example, she loves to go, 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 because she's there for the exercise. She wants to go, 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 go. Now, whether you're there for exercise or not, or for, you have an injury in your body, or you came because your friend dragged you, you're going to find something. I hope that Bodhi offers something that will give you a feeling, and that feeling is the reason why you come back. You try to get more of that feeling, and the closer you get to the gap, that's where the magic is. It's in the stillness. So that's what yoga taught me. Yoga, at that time, in that moment, nothing else mattered, and I was in the now, and that's what yoga does. It brings you into the moment.
Which is what social psychologists tell us, that to really be truly happy, you have to spend about 85% of your life in now.
In now.
And that's the challenge, I think. That's the challenge.
We live in the hurt body. We live in the hurt body. And that is the old past hurt and pain from this lifetime or old past lifetimes. We live in that stuff, the anger, the resentment, the pain, the hurt, the things that you were challenged with. So where I'm going with it really is how it empties your mind. And it's in those little gaps that the magic lies, as I was saying. That is when you start to realize that you're not the body. You're actually energy, and the energy precedes you, and it's what you leave behind. And people, they often remember how you made them feel, not what you had. Wayne Dyer also said that. I quote a lot of Wayne Dyer. Yeah. He's inspired me a lot, and has brought me to where I am, I think, in spiritually.
He's considered the greatest spiritual transformer of our generation.
He just was a great storyteller, and he made sense. So for me, he was very inspiring. And that, when I met the asana, of course, was why we're here today. I think it all came together perfectly. But that energy, that little gap, that's where you bring in the balance. Because if one part of you is unbalanced, we're all full of energy. We're full of chakras, right? And if that energy is blocked, it manifests as pain, as hurt, as anger. It will actually bring dis-ease into the body. It gives anxiety. It will actually come into the heart and go into the heart disease. You know how you have the lump in the throat for people, and your heart pains for friends and for other happenings, and you hold that. You hold it. We don't need it. It does not serve you, and you cannot grow living in that hurt body in the past. Like you're saying, you can't grow. You have to live in the now, because living in that hurt and that pain is actually the ego. The ego will try to kill you. I think it's Marianne Williamson says the ego tries to kill you.
I always say to people, you can't shovel last year's snow and you can't walk in it either. So it's the same.
Face it.
Right. It's the same thing with our thoughts.
People are afraid to face the mirror. And I wrote something on my social media about how you have to face yourself. People don't want to face it because that comes with the pain and the regret and the resentment, and then it makes you feel bad, and then you ignore it. You push it away. But the Buddha taught us that you do not need to suffer, and that is what Bodhi means.
So, yes, Bodhi Hot Yoga. Can you get into that a little bit more, Michelle, and tell us exactly what it is?
Yes, it means, well, that's why I spent many hours scrolling through Sanskrit, which is it's another language of the yoga, how they use it for asana and stuff that I won't bore you with, but it's very long and the words are hard to learn. That's from my yoga training. But Bodhi means enlightenment. It means the awakened Buddha or master. Now, isn't that lovely? So that really resonated with me and where I was spiritually. So after I said Bodhi enough times, I said, it'll sound like a word eventually, because it's not a familiar word. And I said, no, it means so much to me that's what I want to resonate out to the world, right? So it was, I knew that it meant enlightenment, the awakened Buddha or master. I knew that. But it was about a year after I created Bodhi, because after I came back from my training, I came back to an old sales job and started to put cookies back on a shelf, which I loved at the time. I was doing it because it gives you a lot of freedom. I was in sales. I didn't have anyone really bossing me around, and I like to do my own thing. So, but I came back after training, and then the job I loved, I had a new passion, and my mind was starting to create Bodhi as it exists now, and will continue to grow. So I started, to wonder why it meant enlightenment. So I sat down, and Wikipedia, of course, knows everything, right? So I got on Google, and I Googled Bodhi, and it is actually shortened from the word Bodhi tree. And this is where the Buddha found his enlightenment. So he had left his war-ridden state and came into India, I won't even try to pronounce it. And this is where he found his enlightenment. He stood underneath this tree that had heart-shaped petals and stood up for days in the awe and beauty of this tree. And that word, Bodhi, was Bodhi tree, and is now shortened to Bodhi. But that's where he gained his enlightenment. So, as I was saying, he gained his enlightenment under the tree. They actually fed him. They brought him food because he stood there so long. They bronzed his feet where he stood. He stood there so long, there's an indent where his feet are, and they bronzed his feet where he stood up at awe in this tree, up at the tree. And after the Buddha died, the next king and queen, the king wanted to gain his enlightenment. So he went down and was spending a lot of time down at the tree. And the queen had become very jealous. So she killed the tree. And then the next reign, they wanted the tree back. They planted the tree up on the balcony, 20 feet up in the air. And it stands today as the roots braid down from the 20 feet into the earth. And it's a shrine of where they go and pray, and it's still there in India today.
Wow.
The Bodhi tree, right? So my friend, after I read this, my friend 2 days later, that I had not spoke to in a year, was moving, which I was unknown of, and messaged me on social media a picture of this piece of wood that was carved out in the center. It looked like a log, like a tree trunk, and it was carved out in the center, and it had pictures of like Buddhas, and it had little bells hanging down from the top of the wood. It meant nothing to me. I say, what is this? She said, I'm moving, and I thought of you, and I was hoping you would like to buy it. And I said, well, what is it? What is it? Pretty, but what is it? And she says, it is from a holy tree. She said, I was at a retreat in India, and I went to a holy tree where they all pray. And I said, are you kidding? I said, were you at the Bodhi tree? And she said, yes, yes, yes. And I was like, I didn't have a cent because it was just when I was trying to open up the studio. Every dollar I had, I didn't own, and I still don't. So, and I was like, how are we going to get this? But my boyfriend was thinking, well, you got to have that. He's like, he sees my light. He was like, well, that's supposed to be yours. So he bought me this beautiful piece of art, and I took it from her and put it in the trunk of the car, and the bells, the meditation bells rang the whole way home, and tears rolled down my eyes as I listened to the bells on the tree. And it hangs in Bodhi Yoga today.
Oh, that's such a beautiful
It is in my
story.
meditation room, and it has energy beyond means. It was always meant to be there. It just had to wait for me to build it.
Wow.
It had a destination, just like we all do. It was
Beautiful
waiting for me.
story.
Divine timing, right? Divine timing. Your life, when you sit in the pocket and wait for it, it will come to you. When you put your thought into action and let it go, retire when the work is done, it will flow to
Absolutely.
you. Do not grasp. Do not
Yeah.
interfere. Let it flow. Non-attachment. That's how I got here. Non-attached to the timeline. I didn't care when. I just knew Bodhi Yoga existed, but I didn't really know how. I just put one foot forward and kept going, and the universe served me.
I read a book a while ago when someone said a lot of the great entrepreneurs in the world have no idea how their business is going to happen. They just know that it's going to happen. and they put the plan in place and know that at some point it is going to manifest itself somehow, just believing in that. And just not attaching, and just as you
To
were,
everybody else,
talking
to
about,
the
right?
vibration
Yeah.
that will tell you no.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you let everyone else, if you believe what everyone else is saying, if you let everyone else drive the bus, basically, everyone else is trying to get your hands on the wheel, trying to tell you how to drive your bus. They are. Everyone wants to tell you how to do it and where to go and how,
You should do this or you should do that. Or
Right.
You're crazy if you think
But
you're going to.
your intuition, your inner knowing, yourself, and the quieter you get, the voice, the psychic power, the psychic ability we all have, it is there. It's in tune. You just cloud it with everyone else's conditions, and you're conditioned into believing and behaving certain ways, right?
And I think part of that is too many people don't trust themselves.
Yeah.
And when you don't
Trust
trust
the universe.
yourself,
Yeah.
yes, and then
Yeah.
you start asking other people advice, and then people
Yeah.
give you 10,000 different answers, and then you're confused, and you decide to procrastinate, or you say, well, I give up, kind of thing.
Well, along this journey, there's a lot of people who had to get off the bus because they're not going in your direction. You can't listen to it. And a lot of people tell you no and you can't do it. So you can't listen to that every day. How am I going to manifest what I want in my life if I'm listening to a lower vibration that's telling me I can't do something? I turned every no into a yes. I look at it as, okay, if everyone's telling me no, how long is it going to take me to turn it into a yes? Because it is possible.
Absolutely.
It's possible. It's just
Totally.
how long is it going to take you to get there? And the more you believe it, the faster it'll manifest. Just like the law of attraction.
And the more you're passionate about it, and you talked earlier about feelings, and the more you can really get excited about that journey, the quicker you're going to turn that into probability.
Well, it was in my head for a year. I saw what you see today. If you were to go to Bodhi Yoga, I hope you come visit me now. So you got to come see me. It's much more. You may come in for one reason, like I say, but I'm going to give you another to stay. And I hope that the people that sit on the mat in front of me are given a reason to stay. There's many benefits to yoga. Many, 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 many. Of course, we know a lot. That's not why we're really here. I feel like I want to go deeper. I want to tell you that you no longer need to live in a hurt body. That's why I open the doors.
Absolutely.
You no longer need to live in pain. There's a quote by the Buddha. It's his last words that were ever recorded. And it says that the way to your divinity is through your diligence.
Absolutely true.
That's all.
Yeah.
Just forgive yourself. Don't worry about it so much. Let it go. Let it come to you. Be not attached to it. Be diligent in the actions. Choose the higher thought. Choose the higher vibration. The ego will fade. The wants for material things and things like that, they will fade. Attachment to people.
What types of yoga do you offer?
Yes. Oh, I'd like to be able to do everything and offer it all. We have a great diverse schedule. I teach hot yoga. There's flow yoga, vinyasa yoga. I teach to babies and children. There's hatha yoga. There's a lot. We meditate. There's a lot going on at the studio. A lot. So we have something for everybody. I've been teaching to the beginner for the last year. I'm filled with beginners, new people to yoga, and I kid you not, one person will come in and they'll come back with 2 friends.
How do people get in touch with you?
Facebook, Instagram, my website, bodhihat.yoga.
bodhihat.yoga.
Has everything. It has all my teacher bios. It has the schedule. It has the class descriptions. You can do it all. Come in, say hi to me. I love seeing new faces. I want to help you grow happier, healthier lives.
And you offer a first class
For free.
For free. So
Yes.
why? There's no reason for people
Not to try.
Not to try this.
If you don't like it, I don't take offense. But I tell you what, my probability, it's crazy. They come back with 2 friends. I'm not kidding. They come in with 1 and come back with 2 or 3. It's nuts. It's something's going on down there. It might be part of that Bodhi tree piece I've got put in there. But it's energy. It's energy, and that's what elevates. It's not the yoga we're doing.
sure,
Because
absolutely.
you can do yoga anywhere.
That's right, yeah.
You can do yoga anywhere. There's a different vibration that when you enter that door, that people feel. And they keep telling me, and that's so rewarding. Do you know how rewarding that is? That's why I open it.
Totally.
I open it to make you feel something, make you feel better about the body that you're in, make you live in the hurt world that we see it and feel better. Be able to create a reality that exists that you love. Be able to manifest you. Create a reality you want to see. It's all within you.
Michelle, thank you very much. It's been eye-opening for me, and I
Didn't even scratch.
If,
So much. There's so much.
Well, that's it for this week, everybody. Thank you again, Michelle, for an eye-opening enlightenment about exactly what Bodhi Hot Yoga does. Thank you.